ready to start? Do we want to do an intro? Okay, we have a scissor now. So now we're ceremoniously cutting the faulty cable in this case. So I hope you all know Jeopardy, and you. Also, I'll explain the rules. We'll show you the answers, and you have to give the questions. There are 5 categories, and with a few cryptic names, and we will show them to you. And as you can see with the buzzers, we need 4 voluntary participants, and we have no audio from my laptop at the moment. We still need to set that up.
Aha, das ist schon mal gut. Ist es von deinem Laptop? Ja. Das ist gut. Genau.
Ja, ist gut.
Wow. It's even stereo.
So, genau, da wollen wir die Kategorien aufzeigen, bevor sich Teilnehmer melden.
Do we want to show the categories before we get the participants on the stage? So, for the brave of you. There's the first participant. Number 2 and 3 are over there.
Und daneben, ja, kommt. Dann haben wir doch 4.
And we also have the fourth one. Now, distribute yourselves amongst the buzzers.
Okay. Aha. Einer nach dem anderen.
Genau, also Idee wäre einmal buzzern und den Nickname sagen.
So, please press the buzzer and then tell your nickname.
Und hier ins Mikro.
Hi, ich bin Jonas mit
Hi, I am Jonas.
Aber das falsche Fenster hat den Fokus. Bitte nochmal. Dankeschön.
Strom noch, das Notebook ist fast leer, ist wunderbar.
So the battery of my laptop is also almost empty. Nice.
Da vorne auf dem Monitor. Genau.
But the first player is already on the scoreboard. Nice.
Ja, komm. Jetzt mal genug mit Striptease hier. Jetzt gehen wir an den Buzzer bitte. Und hau da mal ordentlich drauf.
Now let's return to the buzzer.
Vor die Line.
So,
Vor die Line.
next player is vor die Line.
Mann.
Vor dir daheim, wirklich.
Die Line.
Ein bisschen lauter drin. Vor die Line. Like this.
Is it written like this?
Ist das jetzt richtig, ja?
Is this correct?
Gut.
Okay.
Rein damit.
Das ist blöd, aber wir gehen gleich hier weg.
Der nächste.
So, next one.
T.N.J.R.
T-R-O-N-J-R.
Tronje.
Sollen wir das auch jedes Mal so aussprechen? T-R-O-N. Okay. Tron ist okay, oder?
Tronger.
Gut.
Or Tron? Is Tron okay? Okay, so the last one.
Ja, kurz und leicht. Es
Jan.
wird trotzdem falsch geschrieben. Wenig erwartet, aber trotzdem noch.
Die Buzzer prellen. Es wird alles prellen, nur da nicht.
Okay.
So the buzzers are not debounced. This is going to be quite interesting.
Jetzt hätten wir nicht schon genug Zeug
So,
Okay, wir haben folgende Kategorien.
okay, we have the following categories. Linux distributions.
Selbsterklärend. Ihr müsst Linux-Distros finden. Dann hätten wir als zweite Kategorie logisch. Das ist eine
Second
Bilderkategorie.
category is
Logos.
logical things. We show images of logos.
Wunderbare Kategorie. Da geht's
Third category are haptics. This is about buttons
Genau. I've
in
made a huge
general.
mistake.
Category 4 is I've made a huge mistake. We have error signs of different kind or error indicators.
Sehr weit gefasst. Und ihr müsst uns sagen, was
And you have to tell us which kind of error indicator this is. And unnatural selection. We have so people with a web development background might feel quite comfortable here. This is about CSS, and we have created a few CSS selectors, and you have to tell us what they do. Now we need the first player. Our completely newly developed random number generator now selects
Der hat immer eins mehr angezeigt als die Nutzer. Das haben wir jetzt gefixt.
Haben wir gefixt. leider mit
So this is
JavaScript
fixed. Okay. This is developed in JavaScript. So this is not a type of
Zusatzstopp.
randomness we can use here. You have to say stop.
Vor
Stop.
die Line fängt an.
For the line starts.
Eine Kategorie und eine
So choose a category and
Wird natürlich
a
zunehmend
value,
schwerer, aber nicht
1 to
zu sagen,
500.
glaub ich, klar.
The higher the number, the harder the question. Unnatural selection 300, please.
Wir haben Button,
We have
Span.
button, the plus sign, span.
Wäre mal lieber bei 100 angeschrieben.
Nein, können wir nur Webentwickler.
You should have started with 100.
Das selbstständig das Mikro nehmen oder auf mich warten. Ja.
Wie drücke ich aus, dass ein Span-Element
How do I express that a span element within a button is displayed on the second layer?
Aber nicht fast richtig.
That's almost correct,
Alle
but
anderen nochmal buzzern.
unfortunately wrong in total, so all the other participants
Wir machen alle nur Kernel-Entwicklung.
Ja. Nur echte
get
Hacker.
their chance, and well, it seems like we have only real hackers here in the room, no web developers.
Tatsächlich Plus ein relativ unbekannter, weil selten genutzter.
The plus is a relatively unknown but still, sometimes used CSS selector.
Gut. Also, sollen wir noch sagen, was es war?
Ja, das
Shall we give the solution?
Ein Span, was direkt auf einen Button folgt.
It's a span that directly
Nicht
follows
innerhalb des
a
Buttons,
button.
sondern nach, also
Not within the button, but
auf der gleichen Ebene.
on the same layer than the button.
Der
Okay,
funktioniert doch so gut.
random number generator, let's go.
Aber wieder none. Wieder
Okay, already
Nochmal.
get second none.
Okay. Stopp.
Ganz rechts würde ich sagen.
Rechts,
So,
Jan.
Jan, what's your take?
Linux-Distros für 200 bitte.
Linux distributions for 200
Mit Musolibc und
with muzzlelibc and busybox. This
Standard.
lightweight distribution is the de facto default for minimal container images.
Richtig.
And the question is, what is Alpine Linux? And this is correct.
Toll, Applaus, Applaus.
Applause.
Gut, du darfst uns sagen, wo es weitergeht.
So, please tell us which is your next choice.
Dann mache ich halt Linux-Distros 300.
Linux distros, 300 points.
Noch eine neue Rückkehr gerade ein. Wir haben sie beide vergessen. Wir haben Trivia-Spickzettel.
Oh,
Ja, die werden.
we have trivia cheat sheets, so we can look at them. But yeah, so Linux distros 300. This pen testing distribution is the successor of Backtrack. What is Kali Linux?
Das ist korrekt.
And
Genau.
this is correct.
Gut, du darfst sagen, wo es weitergeht.
Okay, so tell us which is the next one. Linux distros for 400. It seems we are rushing through this category, so if we continue with this speed, then
Aber nicht erklärt, aber vielleicht kennt man es noch. Also man kann hier bestimmen, wie viel man
that's a new feature. So here you can determine how many points you want to set.
400.
Nur 400. Das ist ja quasi,
So
das ist ja quasi das, was
400.
sowieso
So that's what you would already gain. So only 400, and the audience does not really protest. Really?
und dich beim Publikum beliebt machen.
You can correct yourself. So 800. Now that's now we're talking.
Also genau, es darf auch natürlich nur Tron antworten.
So now
sollte es
only
falsch sein,
Tron is allowed to answer.
Geht's an die anderen weiter.
So runs this Jeopardy machine, by the way.
Nochmal laut.
Was ist Debian Linux?
What is Debian Linux?
Müsstest
Das
du hier upsen.
ist
Bitte einmal kurz dein Buzzer drücken, damit wir den Minuspunkte gut schreiben können.
Could you please press the buzzer so we can give you the negative points?
jetzt soll gebuzzert werden. Genau, es wird schon gebuzzert. Vordilan hat gebuzzert. Bitte.
40 line buzzard.
Was ist Arch Linux?
And the question is, what is Arch Linux?
Genau.
And
Dem muss man
of course, that's correct. As Linux.
Bodyline darf sich wieder eine
So 40 line can choose a category, please.
I've made a huge mistake.
I've made a huge mistake for 200.
Mistake 200. So, jetzt muss man
Leider
genau
Tilde falsch.
hinschauen.
Okay, so unfortunately, tilde, tilde, wrong, tilde, right.
Text in Markdown.
How do you correct
Ja, genau.
text
also
in
das ist
Markdown?
eine Durchstreichung und ich denke, so kann
Yes,
man
this is a strike-through,
durchgestrichen markieren, das lassen wir auf jeden Fall mal.
and we can give you these 200 points. Correct.
So, wo geht's weiter?
Okay,
Du darfst sagen, wo es weitergeht.
where do we continue?
Logisch 100.
Logical
So, jetzt haben wir mal
things
ein
for
Logo,
100.
also auf dem Bildschirm gucken und
There's a
erkennen,
logo.
was ist das für ein
What's the logo
Logo?
you see on the display?
Was ist AMD?
Ja.
Ja, was ist
What
das
is
Logo von AMD?
the
Was ist AMD?
logo of AMD? And that's of course correct.
Dann machen wir logisch
Okay,
200.
let's continue with logical things. 200. And
Jan weiß, wofür diese Feder steht.
Jan
Was ist
knows
das Logo von Apache?
what's going on here. Ah, that's the logo of Apache.
Und Jan darf sagen, welche Kategorie das ist.
Yes, that's correct. 200 points for Jan. Applause, applause. And Jan can tell us the next category.
Wir probieren mal Haptik für 100.
Let's try haptics for
Habe
100.
ich mal die Schalterkategorie.
Ah, the
Diese von
switches
Software
category.
auf zur Fortsetzung eines Vorgangs verlangte Taste
This
ist auf
is
keiner
a key that
Standardtastatur
is expected by software to continue a procedure, but it's not present on any physical keyboard.
Was ist die N-Taste?
What is the any key?
Oh, was ist die Any-Taste, der Any-Key? Behalt's gleich. Ist
Yes, yeah, just keep the microphone. That's correct.
Dingens. Es gab da irgendwie so ein Gerücht, dass in den 80ern
And there was a rumor in the 80s that there were so many support requests for going in at large computer manufacturers. Where the heck is this any key? And they were really thinking about putting an any key on their keyboards to just solve this problem. But this idea never reached production grade. So, okay, choose the next category. Unnatural selection for 200
Oben ist
points.
ja auch leichter.
So, ein 2n plus 3. Was könnte das sein?
What could this statement mean?
Die Line hat schon mal im Internet irgendwas gemacht.
Okay, 49 has buzzard.
Was ist das
What is...
Kind von
What's the second child of a TR
3 weiter?
element? And from that one, increment by 3.
Ist nicht ganz richtig.
I fear it's not entirely correct, but we give you the chance to try again.
Oder hat jemand von den anderen Teilnehmern eine Idee?
Or does one of the other participants have any idea what's going on here?
Lass noch eine Korrektur vielleicht zu, wenn du nochmal genauer...
So we can allow one correction.
Da muss man das ja auch nicht mehr.
Aber vielleicht kann man sich erschließen. Also man sieht nämlich
Maybe
so eine
you can
Art Variable da drin.
conclude what's going on. And it looks like there is a variable in the statement here. The n was missing in your answer.
Eine Variable n hätte
If
im normalen CSS nicht.
I had a variable n, but I don't think this is allowed in CSS. Yes, it is. It is a valid selector.
Nochmal frei. Also
Aber jetzt
Okay, but now the answer is wrong, and all of the others can now buzzer if they have an idea. It was, to be honest, pretty close.
leicht ist, wie wir alle denken.
ja, ja.
It's not so easy,
Okay, dann müssen wir die Frage wahrscheinlich auch auf
but
Sitzen sitzen. Was man
maybe we have to set this question to, well, nobody knew it.
Geht doch nicht von allein.
Does the audience have any clue?
Genau, jedes zweite, also das N ist quasi
Yes, correct. N is the placeholder for the element, and we are selecting every second element.
Im Grunde aber die ersten drei
Ja,
auslassen.
zum Beispiel, weil da Tabellen.
So we select every second element, but we skip the first three.
Ich finde es ein bisschen konstruiertes Beispiel.
So-
Heute ist die plus 3, weil es sonst zu einfach ist.
Zu einfach.
Because that's so easy.
2n war zu einfach,
So
also muss es plus 3 dran.
2n was too simple. simple in this quiz, and that is the reason why we added the 3 here. There's also a selector with even or odd, but that was too simple for making this question. So okay, next question.
So, wo geht's jetzt weiter? Oder
Where do we continue? Random generator.
vielleicht mal in Rust implementieren?
Maybe we have to implement in Rust. Oh, -1.
Kann auch was anderes als lang.
Such a bummer.
Klappt aber auch nicht.
Klappt auch nicht.
It doesn't work. Oh, random number generator doesn't work.
Ja, okay, dann nehmen
Geht von hinten rein. Und
-1 is an underflow basically.
Dann nehme ich logisch 300.
So logical stuff for 300.
300 logisch.
And we have this logo.
Jonas hat direkt.
das hat sofort erkannt.
Wunderbar.
Jonas has discovered it. And the question is, what's the logo of Text as Instruments? And yes, that's correct. Did you know it?
Ah, okay, also gekannt.
Yeah,
Da hätte auch
yes,
noch
I-
anders drauf kommen können.
You
denn
could
wenn man sich
also
diesen schönen Logo anschaut.
get a clue because the form, the overall shape is Texas. And there's the T and the I in the logo. So they are manufacturers of microcontrollers and stuff like that, and also calculators. Okay, where do we go on? Logos. Logo is 400. Now it's getting a bit difficult. It seems to be an older one, judging by the style. What's the logo of the World
Apple dann an der Stelle.
Catalog book or Apple?
Also was ist jetzt die Frage?
Ja, okay,
So.
was ist das Logo von Apple? Das
Okay, what is the logo
Was
of
ist ein
Apple?
sehr altes Logo von Apple
And
aussehen?
yes, what is the correct question is, what is a very old logo
Dass sie irgendwann
of
Angst hatten,
Apple? And there was this rumor that they were feared that this could be
deswegen haben sie das angebissene Apfellogo
could be mistakenly seen as a cherry,
Genau, und auch
and
die
for that
Geschichte
reason
ist,
they
also wenn
put
man
the
hier
bite
sieht, ist,
into the apple.
Isaac Newton, falls das nicht jedem
And what we see
bewusst
here
ist, und der Apfel,
is
der
Isaac
bekanntlich
Newton
auf den Kopf gefallen ist, was auch
sitting
eine Urban Legend ist. Trotzdem,
under the apple tree, and so that's a very, very interesting logo.
sowas wird heutzutage ja
Very stylish. That's something nobody would do anymore today. So logo is 500.
Das sind diese drei
What are
schicken
these
Sternstreifen.
3 nice racing stripes?
eventuell etwas jüngere
And
Kandidatinnen mitspielen.
we fear
die dann
that
einfach keine Chance
some
haben,
younger
bei dieser
people
Kategorie
or
an.
younger candidates would be on the stage, but
Ein alter weißer Mann, jetzt dreh die mal nicht raus hier.
it seems this is not one of the older white men here on the stage. And the answer is, of course, what's the logo of Atari?
Na gut, okay, ihr wisst einfach zu viel. Wir müssen schwerer werden.
You just know too much. We have to make much more difficult questions here. Linux distros 100, very good.
Diese Distribution mit Wurzeln
This distribution with their roots in Fürth calls their mascot Gecko. And the answer, the question is, what is the SUSE distribution? Yes, that's correct. Very good.
Dann machen wir die Spalte auch noch fertig. Linux Distros.
So let's finish this column, Linux distros 500.
der Linux-Distro genommen.
That's the hardest question. This declarative system uses a same named language and isolates all packets in a cryptographically hashed store. And the question is, what is Nixos? Correct, very good. I just talked today with a friend of mine who uses an AI agent and found out that this does not support Nixos very well.
So, 3 Kategorien haben wir noch.
Okay, so there are 3 categories left. Haptics,
Ja, dann nehme ich
CSS stuff, and unnatural selection. And I'm taking the unnatural selection for 100. What does this mean? Div greater than star or asterisk.
Alle Kinder, nein, nicht Kinder,
I would say all bummer.
Wir sind mal
Formulier noch eine Frage und dann loggen wir es
einfach an
ein.
der Frage.
Come on, try it. I have mistakenly
Kindern zu tun.
held the colon,
Nee, Entschuldigung.
or I mixed up the colon and the greater than sign.
Machen wir ein
alle dürfen wieder buzzern.
And okay, so wrong answer. Everyone can buzzer again.
Willst du hier in der Kategorie noch reinhalten?
Was sind alle direkten Kinder eines
What are all direct children of a diff element? And yes, that's entirely correct. Very good.
Genau, der Trick ist,
The trick is the greater sign
die direkten Kinder,
is the means the direct children,
egal wie tief verschafft wird.
and otherwise it would catch all the diffs
Magst du dich bei 400 vielleicht?
in the document. So, 40 line. What's the next one?
Ich dachte, es wäre meine Lieblingskategorie, bei mir ist bei 100 Schluss.
Do you want to go with unnatural selection 400? I don't think so. So let's go with haptic 200. This type of switch uses a magnetic field to switch without physical contact. And Jan buzzard.
Das ist ein Touchsensor.
What is a touch sensor?
Die glaube ich gar nicht so falsch.
Technically not entirely wrong, but we want to see a very specific term here. The magnetic component is key here.
Kind of correct ist. Also es ist halt kein Schlüssel.
So it is, in essence, a touch sensor is not a switch.
Touchsensor gesagt, ne? Also
I said touch sensor, not touch pad.
Sagt denn das Publikum, es sei ein Touchsensor?
Does the public, does the audience think that the answer is correct?
Gut, dann würde ich sagen, geben wir es für alle wieder.
Immer ist wieder für alle frei.
Okay, so no, that's not the right answer. So
wie funktioniert der Fahrradtachometer?
how does a bicycle speed sensor
Der
work?
Tachometer hat exakt diesen Schalter implementiert.
And yes, it looks like this speedometer has exactly this type of switch integrated, but no, nice try, but no. What is an inductive switch?
Wieder mehr eine Beschreibung.
That's also more a description of the item we are looking for.
Es gibt einen eindeutigen Fachbegriff.
There's one very, very distinct term, technical term for this type of switch.
Ich sage jetzt mal falsch und im Zweifel.
Let's say wrong again and try again.
Hast du es mal im Physikzimmer verbaut? Insofern.
I think you actually use this type of switch.
Also Vordi hat auch gebuzzert. Also
Die hat trotzdem
40 line buzzard.
Ein kapazitiver Schalter.
What is a capacitive switch?
auch nicht der Fachbegriff.
No, that's also not the technical term we are looking for. So, now, everyone had a chance. The audience is
Hall-Sensor hätten wir vielleicht auch
able to answer. Yeah, so what is a Hall switch?
Read-Schalter oder ein Read-Kontakt.
What is a read contact?
Read-Kontakt.
Nicht Read wie lesen, sondern Read.
Not read
wie
like
Mensch.
reading, but read like the guy who invented it.
Zustand des Spiels geändert.
So, this round didn't change anything
Und da haben wir auch diskutiert.
in this game. So,
Mit deinen Hardware-Sachen.
Na
well,
gut.
you with your hardware questions.
Wo geht's weiter?
Okay, let's bring up the random number generator up and running again.
Soll ich jetzt auch das mit dem Overflow machen? Also 1,
Okay,
2, 3, 4,
so
5,
shall we do the overflow trick again?
8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, wir haben, wann müssen wir aufhören hier?
When do we have to stop this round?
Jan, sag mal, wo es weitergeht.
Jan, tell us where we should continue.
Made a huge mistake.
I've made a huge mistake for 100
Was haben wir hier
points.
für ein schönes
Jan hat auch sofort gedrückt.
Right, so Jan immediately buzzes. So what can we see here?
Eine Webseite, die ich mit dem Internet Explorer auf und
So the question is, what is shown when I open a website in Internet Explorer where an image is shown that is not available? So this is quite specific, and so originally this comes from a different browser, but it was primarily used in Internet Explorer. So
Netscape zum Beispiel, wo
Internet Explorer did also use it. So you know it's correct. It's correct. We're gonna count that one.
Das ist auf jeden Fall richtig genug. So, wo geht's weiter?
All right, how do we continue? Where do we continue? I would like to use the same category for 300. So this control signal was developed to physically stamp all 7 lanes on a hole punch card. So this comes from a time when you punched holes into physical punch cards.
Einen Fehler anzuzeigen. Tron.
Was ist das
Tron
Tabulator?
is answering. The question was, what is the tabulator? And that was incorrect.
7 ist schon mal ein
7 ist
interessanter Zahlenwert.
genau.
So correct,
Ausstanzen oder nicht ausstanzen ist auch
correct number value and stenciling, but no, not correct, not correct.
Also einen Tabulator kann man auf diese Art schon auch darstellen.
So you can kind of express a tabulator like this, but if you do the 7 lanes, it's not necessarily a tabulator.
18 haben wir neulich festgestellt, machen wir das. Verfolgt, wir haben genau nach dem Ding schon mal gefragt.
And so we were already asked for this a while back. So let's see if somebody knows it this time.
Also das gibt's auch heute noch.
So
diese
it still
Steuerzeichen,
exists
aber man
today, this
stanzt halt
control
heute
symbol,
nicht mehr
but
aus.
you're no longer stamping or stenciling
Die
cards,
interne Darstellung
punching
davon
cards.
ist immer noch so.
But the internal representation is still the same.
Das muss man leichter machen.
Should we make it a bit easier, maybe?
Also vielleicht als Tipp noch, wenn man
Maybe
alle,
a small
wenn man
tip
auf die
here.
Frontplatte alle Spuren
If you punch all of the lanes in the card, you are negating what you had in this position previously on the card.
Die Lochkarte, merk,
So I'm punching the holes in my card, and I made a mistake there.
Ja,
Was ist Carriage Return?
So the question is, what is carriage return? No, that is not correct. Thank you for the bad tip. I was not done with the hint yet, so
ich glaube, im Publikum ist es
ich glaube, im Publikum haben es schon Leute. Also
it
geht
appears
sehr in die
the
richtige
audience
Richtung.
appears to know what the answer is. Someone else buzzer?
Ja, ja,
klar, freilich.
mal drauf.
All right.
Die andere Richtung, was ist die Backspace-Taste?
The question is, what is the backspace key?
Kein Steuerzeichen.
And that is not a control signal, so no, it's incorrect. But you're very close. So what is the remove key? And
ist super nah
it's very close. It's very close. But what does it do?
Das letzte Zeichen.
Okay, und wie tut sie das?
And so how does it remove something in a terminal?
Geht.
Ja, und wie,
Ich glaube,
And okay, it goes back. So there's an escape signal called delete, and it's at position 127.
genau, also ASCII war ja mal nur 7-Bit oder ist auch immer noch
So
nur
ASCII
7-Bit.
previously was only
Alle
7-bit, and it
Zeichen
still is
gesetzt,
70-bit. And so if you set every key, you have the delete character, and it still exists today. It's what gets sent to the operating system when you hit the delete key.
Gut, weißt du, was das größte Problem an der Geschichte
And you know what the biggest problem with this is?
Haben wir den Zufallszahlengenerator.
We will get a random number generator,
Aber ihr kriegt jetzt keine
and
Punkte.
we get a none again.
Ich hab das gut, also gut.
All right,
machen wir
so
lange Rede, kurzer Sinn. Tron, würde ich sagen.
let's shorten this a bit. Let's go with Tron. We're going haptics 300.
Diese da bin ich sehr gespannt. Diese
This component consists on a series of tiny switches that
Haben wir hier übrigens
serve as a static configuration of hardware parameters.
Wunderbar, wunderbar.
And
ein Dip-Switch.
so yeah, what is a dip switch was the answer, and that was correct.
Wenn du noch den lustigen Spitznamen dafür kennst, wenn da mehrere davon
And so now they're asking what the nickname is for that.
Genau.
And in German it's called a mouse piano is the nickname for that.
Genau, aber Dip-Switch sind
So a dip switch is the correct answer for that. So let's continue with haptics 400.
Du musst drücken. Dies ist der deutsche
This is the
Fachbegriff
German
dafür, worauf du gedrückt
term
hast.
for what you just pushed.
Jan hat direkt gedrückt.
Worauf hast du gedrückt?
So Jan has hit the buzzers,
Keine Frage.
and
Keine Frage und auch nicht das, was wir versucht haben.
the question kind of was, what is a push switch? That was not correct. So potentially there could be another name for this component.
Nicht freigegeben, Moment.
Es wird noch gegoogelt, ob wir das
So we're still Googling if we let that one slide, because it's technically not exactly what we were looking for, and Google does not return at all what we're looking for here.
Wir finden ihn super lustig.
Genau. So,
Ron hat gedrückt.
So Tron has hit the buzzer, and he asked the question, what is an emergency switch or an emergency button? That was not correct, so they're saying, look at the shape of this. Jan has buzzed, and he said, what is in German, mushroom switch? And yes, that was actually the correct answer, or yeah. Technically, it's not necessarily a switch because it doesn't stay in the position that it is in, but yes, it is in fact correct. And yeah, the English term is mushroom button. So they're just asking the translators, so us to look for the translations, and we did. So they're asking for, I've made a huge mistake for 400. And the answer is EF, BF, BD, / and a missing font symbol. So whoever speaks hex rather would like the left representation. Whoever uses broken software would rather have the right one, but technically not even the software is broken in that case. So anyway, what do we see here? So we just talked about ASCII. This is not ASCII. So maybe it was ASCII before, but no, I would not say that it was ASCII. So the question is, how do you represent an encoding mistake? And yeah, it's not close enough. Can you be more specific, please? And yes, in UTF-8, and that was the correct question, and it's a Unicode replacement character, and it gets shown when the code sequence that the software that represents the Unicode discovered an invalid sequence, and that could, for example, be a weird ASCII character, or no, it could be a valid ASCII key because it's valid. But it could be an invalid extended ASCII character. For example, if you save a file and the saving process breaks something, then, for example, you could see this weird symbol with the question mark in the middle. But only during a sun eclipse. So now we're doing natural selection, unnatural selection 500. So this will be hard, and this is just an ampersand. No. A and symbol. How long do we want to wait for them to answer? 2, 1. So 40line pressed the buzzer.
I've made a huge mistake.
And it's not I've made a huge mistake. So he already pressed the button, so he needs to answer now. So the question is, what is the current selection, and then I can attach something. And so can you give a bit more context to that? Okay, yeah. So I have an element that I've selected, and I can restrict the rules for the child. It's incorrect already, but that fits into the category, kind of. But yeah, so whoever is fluent in CSS will know this character and keeps up to speed with CSS, but it might be very obscure to have this. So you can use this really well for CSS Golf, the escape codes. So no one's buzzering. So maybe I could correct it a little bit. So we have an undo here. We can give you the points back if you want to. And I don't want to push the buzzer again.
Wir haben extra ein Undo eingebaut.
So come on, we actually have an undo.
Also ich kenne es eigentlich nur von SCSS.
So I only know it from SCSS, and the idea is I have a rule and I can make it even more restrictive for the child. And so we'll take the negative points away from you, but we'll let it slide. And it's very obscure, it's very new in CSS or SCSS. And in SCSS, you know nesting, so you have multiple rules that depend on each other, and in SCSS or other preprocessors, you can nest rules, and everyone was always mad that you couldn't do this in CSS. And so since 2024, browsers support the nesting of CSS rules, and if you do that, the ampersand represents the rule of the super layer, so the layer above. So like I'm writing this as a child of the previous rule, but no, it's not the child. That's not what I meant by that. Okay, but we didn't understand that one correctly then. But what we originally thought was what's going to be asked is what represents the root element? So that was the original question. What represents the root element? And so we're not going to try the random number generator again. So we'll start with the last place person, and I just ran the number generator anyways. So we're going with Tron. We're doing haptics for 500. So another switch or button there, and it's a double Jeopardy. So Tron is going all or nothing. So 1,000 points. The audience is loving this a lot. So this component with an infinite rotation function records directions through phase-shifted triangle signals. Yeah, rectangle signals. Small correction there. Thank you. So the audience is discussing the question. It appears somebody's looking it up, or somebody's on the phone at the moment. So I had to hang up on the phone joker. So Tron, we need a question from you. So what is a turning element or a rotation element? Nope, that's too general. We're not counting that one. So you have to press again so we can deduct the points from you. And the question is now free for all again, or for the audience even. And Jonas has buzzed. And so we're looking for a specific switch in this category, and the reply was incorrect. So you need to think about the right direction. Like, for example, a switch can go into both directions. A servo motor has this built in, for sure. And so basically it's about the encoding of this. And so the interesting thing is the square wave here that can be used to switch the direction and how far things are moving. Does the audience have any idea what this could be? Somebody just shouted it in, but I mean, you asked for it. I think nobody would have noticed it. Would you have accepted decoder? But no, we wouldn't have accepted that. That could be anything. Yeah, it's
Rotary encoder.
It's a rotary encoder. That would have been fine. And so the interesting thing there is that the component is sending increments and not like a potentiometer sending a continuous signal. And so from this case you can differentiate multiple contacts from each other, so you can differentiate between a right turn and a left turn. So basically the way that it works is that if you have switch 1 and 2 going high, you know that's a right turn, and if you have switch 0 and, for example, -1, you have a left turn. So we have the picture category done, and we have 2 categories left. Well, we have 2 slots left, and we're going with Tron, going with I've made a huge mistake for 500. And it's an audio clue, you could just hear it here. We can play it multiple times. And we even fixed the audio, not just the random number generator. And Tron has pushed the button. And the question is, what is the calling sound of FaceTime? That's not the right question. And another question was the mistake is that you bought Apple, so we're playing it again. So the noise that you just heard was not part of it. This is. So what does this remind you of? So it's 8 beeps in sequence, 8 short signals. Jonas has hit the button. And so this is the correction symbol in Morse code. The question was correct in this case. So with Morse code you usually only go forward, but if you make a mistake you want to tell your communication partner that you've made a mistake in your word, and you do that by telling the other person using 8 beeps to say that the previously started word was incorrect, but no one really does this, because depending on which organization you're in, this is not necessarily that important, but in the manual this is the I've made a mistake signal. And we have one more CSS category, so we're just going this one. So what you can see here, 40 line has hit the buzzer. So this is not super new, this could be known. So what is a link tag which does not point to HTTP? And yes, this is correct. It could, for example, point to FTP or relative paths. So we are done with round 1, and we'd like to have a big applause for all of the participants. Thank you all for being brave enough to come here, and it doesn't matter how you performed. The big win is that you were part of it, and so what you get is the honor here, and a big applause for Tron here, for Jonas, for Jan, and for the winner, 40 line. And oh, actually, we do actually have prizes. So they've gifted him the one of the pieces of the ceremoniously cut USB cable that originally caused the technical difficulties in the beginning of the session. So the presenters are now going into a short break, and they are switching the board and looking for new participants. So who wants to participate in the new round?
We promise that this is the last time we have had CSS selectors in our categories. No CSS anymore. So
So, immer her. First come, first serve.
Don't be afraid. First come, first serve.
Eine Banane.
Aha,
There
noch
is a banana.
Okay, okay.
Zwei fehlen uns noch.
A wild banana appeared. We are still missing 2 participants.
Frauenpower vor. Oder alle, die sich als Frau verstehen.
Sonst bestimmt wir jemanden.
Who also would
Wir
welcome
werfen einfach einen Ball ins Publikum und wer ihn fängt, muss.
Darf ich diese Banane?
females or
Na
people
komm, so schlimm ist es nicht. Die Runde ist
that
leicht.
feel like females. Come on,
Wenn ihr
be
mitmacht,
brave
wenn ihr einen Schunk
and
kriegt, dann schusst euch Punkte
come on the
zu.
stage. And maybe our request for
Habt ihr den Namen
chunk is
Schumi
getting
gehört?
heard.
Der Rainer kommt.
Der Rainer
Ah.
kommt. Hervorragend. Gut.
Rainer is coming.
Rainer.
Nice. Applause. 1 participant missing.
Abgeschreckt.
Scheint so.
I think we feared them all off.
Möchte nicht noch irgendjemand ein halbes USB-Kabel gewinnen?
Jetzt wollen die was gewinnen. Ich leg diese
Is
Banane noch
there
drauf.
anyone in the room who wants to win a half USB cable? And I will put the banana
Sehr gut.
on top.
Applaus für den Vorteil.
And yes, the banana was actually doing the trick.
So, wir machen irgendwie den großen Buzzer-Test wieder.
Genau.
Okay,
Einmal
buzzer
von
test.
links nach rechts
And
Buzzer und
please
den Namen sagen
press the
bitte ins
buzzer
Mikrofon,
and
selbstständig einfach zugreifen.
say your name.
T-A-L-V-I.
I am Talvi. T-A-L-V-I. Okay,
Buzzern.
next buzzer.
Jawohl, ich bin der Reim.
I am Reim.
Typo, wunderbar.
Without typo. Nicely done.
Bitte ins Mikro. Gleich mal zum Üben.
Elen, A-Y-L-E-N.
And I am Alan.
Oh nein!
Oh, ja, das lassen wir so.
Okay,
Das
we
Handtuch für die-
we will leave it that way.
Nein.
Nein.
Du kannst nochmal drücken. Ja, probier's nochmal. Okay.
Just try again.
Elen, genau.
Elen.
Mit Y, nicht mit Z.
With a Y, not a Z.
Erst mein Keyboard-Layout umkonfigurieren.
So keyboard layout needs some reconfiguration.
Habe ich gerade festgestellt.
It's a German keyboard, I just noticed. That's scary.
30.
And fourth player is F30.
Hab die Shift-Taste gefunden. Zum ersten Mal heute.
Shift-Taste gefunden, genau. Und die Kategorien sind
So the categories are
Ah, reicht schon.
Open Sesame.
Was ist jetzt für eine Kategorie?
What's the second category? Ah,
Genau. Eine
keys.
Schlüsselkategorie.
A
Es
key
geht um
category.
verschiedene Arten von Schlüsseln.
It's about different types of
Und die
keys.
zweite Kategorie ist Algorithma.
Algorithmy is about algorithms. That's the second category. Keys was the first one. If somebody knows Arabic, please tell us how this is actually pronounced.
Genau, Arabisch.
Software kann kein Zufall, aber Unicode.
Aber
It's
zufällig kann sie Unicode.
not random, but Unicube. Series of tubes. We are interested in building blocks in a wider sense. We have rocket science. It's about space and space travel and rockets in particular.
Orbitalraketen.
Orbital rockets. And it's like that because Legacy. This is about old shit.
Da hoffen wir mal, ihr seid alle über 30.
Let's hope all of you are over 30.
Wunderbar.
Zumindest geil.
Jetzt sollen wir nochmal den Zufallszahlengenerator anwerfen.
Okay, so let's start our random number generator again.
Fokus im falschen Fenster.
Yeah, focus on the wrong window. And
Blink, blink.
something is blinking here. Ah, there's the random number generator. And we start with a
Das 1 wieder.
minus 1.
Der kann so viel sein.
It has so many cool features.
Mach mal
Ich mach wieder diesen hier.
So we are randomly picking a participant.
Gut, was soll ich mit Stopp sagen? Ich würde
Reimfeld.
sagen, das ist Rainer.
Ah, and rhyme begins.
Fangen wir mal mit Series of Tubes.
Let's start with series of
In der
tubes.
Teilnehmerpool, der bei den kleinen
Ah, finally participants starting with the lower numbers. These 13 logical instances form the upper layer of the DNS
Verwalter der verschiedenen Top-Level.
of the name resolution system and
Das ist natürlich 100%
Okay.
korrekt.
The question is, what are the DNS root servers? And this is of course 100%
Guck mal, wir haben eine neue
correct.
Spielerfarbe, weil der eine Spieler doppelt vergeben ist.
Ah, look at that, we have a new player color because the other player is
Das ist noch nie passiert.
has been assigned twice. That
Gut,
never
weiß
happened
ich, dass
before.
es weitergeht.
Okay, so where do we continue? Legacy 200.
Okay, aufgrund dieser Hardware.
Because of this hardware property of early hard drives, files are still at least 4 kilobytes in size. What is the page size?
Also das ist der Grund,
no.
warum es heutzutage 4 Kilobyte sind,
That's the reason because it's today, but because
weil man dann quasi
how things are working today.
direkt in den RAM laden kann.
Because you can store them directly in the RAM. What is the sector size?
Sektoren waren das
And
bei
yes,
Clustern
that's
oder
the
wir hätten auch noch
case.
Blöcke oder Cluster
It has been
gelten lassen.
sectors. We could also have counted clusters or blocks because manufacturers were not always consistent in naming
Bis heute in Dateisysteme zieht.
these things, but yes,
Sollte sich mal
the
das
sector
sagen.
size is in
Wie er das dauert.
essence
Ja, man hat halt so lange was
correct.
eingestellt, bis es funktioniert hat.
An irgendwelchen Dip-Schaltern.
An irgendwelchen
And
Schaltern.
there were essentially some dip switches in the during the early ages where you could make these configurations or make this configurable. Rocket science for 300. This South German space program is a bit mysterious because we don't know whether it is active or not. Which brain fart is Bavaria 1? Yes, and this is absolutely correct. This is what you wanted to hear. It's a marketing coup from Markus Söder, our God Chancellor. And what shocked me the most during the investigation is that they seem to be somewhat actively developing this program. I don't know. Where do we continue? Series of tubes 200. This distributed system, formed from strategically placed proxy servers, ensures that web contents and videos can be distributed. What is a content delivery network? And yes, that's obviously correct. Very good. Exactly right. Let's continue with Aldingsbums 200.
Also, haben wir nicht dazu gesagt, bei den Algos geht es um Bilder. Wir zeigen die als
So,
animierte Bilder.
we have animated
Um die zu erkennen.
images here in this category. How does a gradient descent look like?
Gradient Descent.
And very good, this is correct.
Übersetzung verwirrt.
I have been a little bit confused by the German translation, but gradient descent is correct.
Antworten hat, muss wohl auch mit Abstieg zu erfahren sein.
Wo geht's weiter?
So, where do we continue? Open Sesame 100. This cryptographical pair of private and public key replaces ideally the password when using the shell from remote.
Public-private key.
What is an SSH public-private key pair? And
Private und Public Key Pair.
that's very correct, very specific, the public and private key pair. Sesame öffne dich, Sesame open Sesame.
Diese Schlüssel sind nicht ergraut
200.
und haben Formen, die
The
unabhängig
beards of these keys are not gray and have forms that look like Z, Z, and the sigma.
Sonst kommt keiner drauf.
unmöglich, unmöglich. Gibt bestimmt auch ein Epsilon.
This is something nobody of you knows.
Hat gedrückt.
Sieht ein Bartschlüssel aus?
How does a worded key look like?
Versuch nochmal.
Close.
It was quite close,
Nee,
but not yet there. Every key has
Wir haben auch
mal
einen
Richtung physische Schlüssel denken, das stimmt.
it. You can think about this is about physical keys.
Zeit oder wollen wir nochmal nach? Also, wir haben einen kleinen Hinweis in der
We
Frage
have a
versteckt, der auf den
small
noch spezifischeren Begriff, den du schon fast
hint.
richtig genannt hast, hinweist.
Hidden in this question.
Muss das Song machen? Reim darf drücken.
And
Was ist ein Buntbartschlüssel?
what is a worded lock key? And this is absolutely correct.
Und wenn man heute irgendwie im Internet googelt, dann kommt man ja nicht
And
vorbei.
if
Und hier haben
you
wir
look
gesagt,
for
ja,
that
pass
with AI in the internet, and they are telling you, because it's called like that, because the German term Buntbartschlüssel is directly translated colored beard key, and modern AI generates very, very weird explanations about where this German term actually comes from.
Richtig alten Lieder, so die
But
eben diese Formen mit dem, ja, die ein bisschen so gezackt sind und dann so reingehen. Also diese
these forms, these old school forms that are not very particularly safe, these are this worded lock key. Okay, rocket science 4. This originally Soviet system was the only transport to the ISS. The question is, what is the Soyuz? And if you can describe the difference between Soyuz capsule and Soyuz. One is the rocket, the other one is the capsule. Okay, this is a little bit confusing. The Soyuz rocket is the rocket, and the capsule on the very top is also called Soyuz. And that's a little bit confusing. So, Felix, where do we continue? Legacy 100.
Auf diesen Tasten waren früher beim
On these keys, the ADM3A terminal had the arrow keys. Was it HJKL? And yes, this is correct. And everyone that knows Vim or uses Vim knows HJKL. That's basically where this came from. If you look at the images from these types of keyboards, this is where the arrows were printed on. And they are in one row, as it should always be. So, Legacy 300. The abbreviation in Unix for terminal interfaces derives from these machines, or is derived from these machines. And the question is, what are TTYs? But we want to hear the complete name. Terminal something, maybe the right word was in there. Let's give it to Tolvi. What is the description for teletypewriter? And yes, this is absolutely correct. Fernschreiber in German. This is from the time where we had real hardware terminals. They didn't even have a display, but only a keyboard and a printer that printed a response on paper. We have something similar to that in the hack space down below. And because the input was processed at a remote location, it was called a teletypewriter. Al-Shwarizmi for 300. What do we see? Which type of algorithm we are seeing here? You can look at this and think about which algorithm is being used here. What is quicksort? No, that's not correct. But it is a sorting algorithm, that's correct. What is merge sort? And yes, that's correct. How did you recognize it? How do you call that? Don't say at the merges. At the always at the cusp node where the sorting, where the to be sorted elements are divided in half. And you can recognize that if you look at that. So, where do we continue? Open Sesame 300. These keys create referential integer connections in relational databases. And the question is, what are primary keys? And that's correct. Primary keys, foreign keys. Yes, absolutely. Where do we continue?
Dann nehmen wir doch mal Series of Tubes.
Let's take series of tubes 400. These administratively defined number of IP nets is being identified by a 32-bit number.
IPv4 hat jedenfalls keine 16-Bit.
What is IPv4? No, that's not correct. Reim. What is an autonomous network?
Was ist ein autonomous system?
Ja, gerade nochmal.
Correction, what is an autonomous system? And yes, this is correct. The abbreviation for that would be AS. An autonomous system is this coherent system which forms the internet we know today. And tell us, where do we continue? Series of tubes, 500. An internet expert. Ooh. Okay, double Jeopardy. So I'm going all in. With this routing technique, the same IP address will be announced by multiple geographically distributed stations to automatically route to the topological closest target. And the question was, what is Anycast? And this is correct. And this is the use case for that is, for example, the DNS root service. We have a lot of different ones, and this is where this technique is being used for DNS. Rocket Science 200. This was the first rocket that could be landed at their starting point in a controlled manner. And I thought some know-it-alls would now raise their hand. Anyone? Spectacular images as the rockets fell from the sky and landed again. How are they called?
Ja, nur Orbitare. Wegen genau solchen Klugscheißern. Nee. Die können. Ja. Nur die gleichen Raketen denkst, an die ich denke.
So there's some interaction going on with the audience. I cannot clearly understand. But obviously, keeping the fuel for the return maneuver available is one of the challenges. The audience does it. It was the Falcon 9 rocket from Elon Musk. So let's spare the random number generator.
Ja, Series of Tubes 300.
Series of Tubes 300.
Soll ich klicken?
It's like a U problem.
Right, so should I press button? It kind of sounds like a U problem there, because I can't reach it with the arrow keys. So this agreement describes the cost-neutral data exchange between two ISPs without a third-party upstream provider, and the question is, what is peering? And that is correct. Right, so where do we continue? Al-Khwarizmi 100. So we see an algorithm again, or we see the workings of an algorithm. So Talvi has pressed the buzzer, and the question was, what is a binary search? And that is correct. So you have a sorted list of elements, and you always split it in the half, and then check which one is greater or lesser than the elements, and then depending on that you switch into the correct section of the algorithm. So we have a double Jeopardy, and he's going for all in again. So we see an algorithm again, a function in this case. And so we'll ignore that part. That's because we were playing the animation differently. And so I'm standing in the frame. I think we can't see anything.
Moment, du darfst nicht. Double Jeopardy.
It's double Jeopardy, so he wasn't allowed to press the buzzer just there.
Du müsstest jetzt was sagen.
So you would have to say something now. You can say nothing, but then your chances of having it correct by chance are effectively 0. So one hint maybe, what we have here is we have a capital A, and you know, we need to have a question now. We need to have a reply.
Wie sieht eine Polynomanalyse aus?
So the question was, what does a polynomial analysis look like? And no, that was not correct. And that was not correct. Point deduction there. And Rame has pressed the buzzer. And the question was, what is a Monte Carlo simulation? And it's kind of not fully correct. So yeah.
Ja, und was berechnet der?
So what does the Monte Carlo algorithm calculate? And so we're right. So the word we were searching for was a Monte Carlo integration, and so we're letting that one count as a reply. So the idea with the Monte Carlo integration in general is you analyze what you want to analyze in random places with random points, and you check whether the point is above or below the function, and then if you know the exact surface area, you can differentiate, or you can try to guess the surface area depending on the ratio of where the points are. And this was developed during the Manhattan project. And it's called Monte Carlo because of gambling, basically. And so somebody who was working in the casino, a casino in Monaco, came up with this technique. So we're going with the Sesame Open Up for 400. So this set of originally 7 variants makes it possible for US security agencies to open up travel luggage without damage. And so the question was, what are TSA security keys? And yes, that was correct. So 400 points for F30. And you can actually kind of 3D print those at this point. So right. So if you have a 3D print of that with a high resolution, please don't put it into the internet because you could get into trouble for that. So we're doing Sesame Open Up for 500. So this kind of key utilizes dips in along the home of the beard. And so this key does not have a beard, which is a hint here. But it has sort of like dips in the metal. So are there any lock pickers among us? So we need to push the pedal a little bit. So this is called a dimple key, and you may have seen this already. This doesn't have a wart, or it doesn't have a beard, but it just has holes drilled along the surface of the key, and then the pins of the lock can fall into those holes, and yeah, that's how it unlocks the lock. It's a bit more secure than a normal key, but not too much. So the random generator says that Talvi is going next. So we're doing rocket science for 400. So this rocket has brought all of the astronauts of the Apollo program to the moon.
Leider falsch.
I couldn't understand the question there, but it was incorrect. Talvi has replied.
Das war das
Which rocket is called Apollo 10? That was also incorrect.
Während ihr überlegt, erzähle ich schon mal meine Trivia, oder? Also,
So I'm going to explain the trivia here. So in a few days, we would have the sister program of the Apollo to the moon,
Artemis, genau.
the Artemis program.
Das wurde jetzt wieder verschoben,
And
weil
it was
eine Rakete kaputt war.
delayed again because there was damage to the rocket. So the Americans want to do it in 2028. They want to land 2028 on the moon. And apparently Elon Musk does not want to provide the rocket there, or want to provide the rocket.
Auf dem Mond gelandet.
So which rocket did they use back during the moon landing to get the astronauts to the moon? And you've almost said it.
Das hört man ja nicht.
Das hört man halt nicht.
Sogenannte stille V.
So it's
Stille römische
it has a V in the name, but it's not necessarily said.
Mal kurz ins Publikum.
So
weil da manche
we're asking the audience here, and it is the Saturn V rocket.
Lange Zeit die stärkste Rakete, die wir je
For a long time, the most powerful rocket that we've created. Right now, it would be the Starship or the Falcon Heavy for that.
Dann nehmen wir Al-Charismi für
So let's do Al-Charismi for 500.
Da gehe ich mal aus dem Bild, weil ich mag einfach die Animation.
So we're looking at the animation. It's a quite nice animation.
2 gelbe Punkte.
So we see 2 yellow points, yellow lines that spread from one point to the other one. Talvi has pressed the button, and the question was, what does A star look like? And yes, it's correct. Why not Dijkstra or something?
die Suchpfade.
And so what it does is the search paths go into all directions, but it has a tendency to go to the target because the target distance, the distance directly to the target is part of the choice process of the algorithm choosing its path.
Exakt.
And that was the correct answer.
wahrscheinlich erkannt hat, der kürzeste Weg zwischen zwei.
And so yeah, it's an algorithm to calculate the shortest path between 2 points. So we have three questions left. So this word describes the place where programmers originally stored physical stamp card or physical punch cards of programs, and the question is the library basically. Well, what is a library? And that was the correct answer for that. So now F30 gets to choose.
Ja, Legacy 500.
And he chose Legacy for 500. So this term describes the original order of the covers of the letter setter in a sorry, it was a question about the okay, so it was a question about where, or originally when the early printing presses were used, the letter pieces were set, and it was upper and lowercase. And so this extremely reliable European rocket was deprecated in 2023.
Tja, keine Raketenwissenschaftler an Bord.
No rocket scientists here.
Das war jetzt ein guter Tipp.
So we just had a hint from the audience, but I couldn't hear it.
Die Hände zucken.
There's hands twitching, and okay, Talvi has pressed the button, and the question was, what's the name of Saturn V? And no, it's not correct. We had that already. F30 pressed the button.
Was ist die Ariane 5?
And the question was, what was the Ariane 5? And yes, that was correct. And so Unlike the Saturn V, there's actually an Ariane 6, and in last place Talvi with -900. Then we have Island in place 3 with 0 points. F30 in second place with 1,600, and Rhyme wins the second half of the faulty USB cable and the random banana that appeared in the beginning. And we actually finished on time, so thanks you to all of our participants. Thank you to all who viewed here, and we wish you a lot of fun with the next event.
Und auch nochmal ein großes Dankeschön für die Organisierung und für die Moderation. Nochmal bitte großen
Thanks for
Applaus.
listening to the English translation of Hacker Jeopardy.